Hi, everybody. Matt Lawton here, and this is the Astrological Wings channel. I'm going to take a look at the astrological weather report for the week of June 17th through the 23rd. Two big things I want to talk about this week. One of them being the full moon in Capricorn at 2 degrees next Friday. And then today, Monday, Tuesday, some really interesting energy with Mercury conjuncting Venus right at the critical first degree of Cancer right after they both squared Neptune, and they're both going to quincunx Pluto at the same time. So very interesting dynamic energy. And hey, I got a new setup going this week. So trying to get it a little bit of an adjustment here. I've got my board here behind that we can go look at things through and just trying to do it a different way, see how this will all work out this time. And bear with me with the experimenting. And just a little business first. The Astrological Wings channel is a free video blog that I do on YouTube every week. It's been on YouTube for several years now. And if you have a YouTube account and you like what you see, I'd really appreciate it if you became a follower. And then don't forget to turn your notifications on, though, because I don't notify you. YouTube does. So if you don't turn that on, they won't notify you. Now, remember, it's been a podcast for years before that, both audio and before that written. So it's still out there on podcasts. Got really great news from the Buzzsprout people. It's reaching thousands of people now over the past year. So they're really happy with me. It's continuing to grow. And remember, it's a free service. So what am I asking you guys always to do for me is that you pass the link along to somebody else. Even if you've done it before, you met someone else new or someone else you thought of, please, please, please pass the link on as a service to me. And also, the Astrological Wings channel does have an Instagram page. I do post the link there. Just look up Astrological Wings channel, become a follower. I do post it on my private Facebook page also. So you have to friend me, and that's Matthew with two T's, Lawton, Lauten. It'll come up on your newsreel. Now, the best place to find it, besides the YouTube and becoming a follower, is on my website, and that's www.astrologicalwinds.com. And that's a great place. I embed the blogs there. You can go back to past blogs there. I do a weekly calendar that tells the days of the week, what's going on holidays, things like that, different Earth days. So that's always good to check out. And my list of services is there too, which is another and the best way you guys can support me. I've been a professional astrologer for over 20 years. I would love to do your chart or a friend's chart, somebody that you know that's ready to have chart work done. I'm offering all kinds of new services for people who are on professional level. I can do monthly, weekly, or even daily readings for you. So contact me at the website. There's a website link there where you can direct email to me. My email is mattHue823@gmail.com. And remember, right now, I'm running a raffle. If you give $5 to the blog as a donation, I will enter you in a raffle for a free reading. I may not do it right at the end of this month. It's like just getting the word out there, so I don't have a lot yet, but I'd like to build that up. Maybe the end of next month, I'll try to build it up and try to get some in there. But if you'd like to make a donation, the Venmo handle is the symbol @ and then it's Matthew, once again with two T's, capital M, and then a hyphen in the middle, and a capital L, Lawton, Lauten. Also, if you have Cash App, it's just the $ Matthew Lawton, all one word, capital MATTHEW, capital LAUTEN. Like I said, every $5 you give enters you one chance in the raffle. It's worth $222.22. So, I'd love to do that for you if you're willing to give a donation to the blog and help defray some of its costs, help become a patron for me, really. I'd love to have some more of you. Anyway, and like I said, please, if you can support me whenever you're ready for a reading, or someone you know, turn them on to the website. The menu is there. Everything you need to know is there. Okay, sorry the business went a little bit longer, and you can see I got a new setup too. And that way I can kind of talk about this stuff. So this is one of the big things to me this week. We have Mercury is squaring Neptune, and then Mercury is going to go right into Cancer. This is all today. And then Mercury will conjunct Venus, which, if you remember, went into Cancer yesterday on Sunday. And then they both quincunx Pluto. So this is really, really interesting to me because this is quite a package that we've got going on here. Venus squaring Neptune and Mercury squaring Neptune together at the critical 30th degree, where Neptune is in Pisces and Mercury and Gemini were both at the critical 30th degree of Gemini. And both those signs are dualistic signs, both Pisces and Gemini. So the problem with what Neptune shows when it hits Venus and Mercury is where we can be deceived. And so, like, when they're in Pisces and Gemini, those are two, like I said, two signs that, have two sides to them, and they're two signs that can be deceptive. That's part of their MO, part of their energy. So here they are at this critical 30th degree. And I think really when you think about the Venus Neptune square, and I talked about it last week, this is going to show us where in our relationship our ideals are not being met, and where can we go with that. Now, we can't be unrealistic because there's no perfect relationship out there. There's never going to be anyone who lives up to all your ideals perfectly, but the question is, with Venus square Neptune, who are the ones that are letting you down and discouraging you too much, and who are the ones that maybe you can build something on, some of those shared ideals, something that's more solid, but also has that in there. Now, the Mercury square Neptune is going to show us where we've been deceived. Now, the funny thing is with the Venus Neptune, it's a lot of self-deception because it's really about your own ideals and people not being able to live up to them. But with the Mercury Neptune today, this is where we can see where other people may have deceived us in our relationship. So it's not only our ideals that are letting us down, but there's misunderstandings, there's being purposely misled kind of energy. This is literally the energy. The Mercury square Neptune is literally the energy of the liar, the deceiver. Someone who is using sleight of hand energy, trying to create confusion, trying to mess up our thoughts and our communication. So this is definitely not a day to be making any serious agreements with anyone in business or in personal relationships. It is not a day to do that because there's a really good chance there's misunderstandings, there's information being held back from you that you're not aware of. Now you just got to, and it's a critical 30th degree square here. So this is really one of those times where you have to assess the people in your life. And if that kind of energy is going on, is this a time where it's time to leave them behind? Because if people are not ready for you to have a straight up relationship with and be clear and feel that you're getting the honesty and not being misled, this may be the time to move forward from those people, right? And you can see in that critical 30th degree more clearly how they have this down as a pattern, how they may be doing this, and how you may want to choose to leave them behind. Because if they're going to stick in that pattern at that critical 30th degree, that means they're going to be left behind, right? And so what you want to do is really graduate on from that energy. So not a good day to make anything that's a serious decision, because there can be a lot of information that's just not clear. But it also can show us who is misleading us, who is never going to come close to our ideals. And then at that critical 30th degree, have us ready to move forward. And what's interesting is right away, Mercury goes into Cancer, just like Venus did yesterday, right? And Venus really likes it in Cancer. I talked about that last week, so go back to the blog last week there. So now Mercury goes in there, and that basically means that our thoughts are being are under the influence of our emotions, of our feelings. And with Mercury in Cancer, we want more intimacy. We want more emotions in our relationships, in our communications, in our connections with others. And so, it can allow the emotions and the way we feel about our family, the way we feel about our home, the way our past psychological patterns have been, all that stuff can affect our thoughts and communications when Mercury is in Cancer. But the thing is, here it is, it's at the first degree, right? Just like Venus. And it's just moved on from that square to Neptune, where it's seeing situations and people it doesn't want to be dealing with anymore. And this is an opportunity to bring it into new connections, into people that you do have a deeper sense of intimacy with people that you do feel that you can talk your emotions out with. Mercury in Cancer is very subjective, right? It's because of that emotional input, but it can be a really good listener. It wants to hear and it wants to get out. It's very supportive on that level. What we need to be asking ourselves is, a lot of these thoughts and communications that we have rooted in our past? Is it rooted in our family, in our heritage, in our nation? All these things that we connect to in our past. And question, is that helping us now? Is that kind of what led us to the Mercury square Neptune and the Venus square Neptune, where we were trying to live ideals that were based and thought patterns that were based on the past in relationships and situations, and now found out, oh, they don't work so well here. So there is that connection, and it's very interesting too, because Mercury in Cancer is really good with memory. It remembers what worked really well in the past. So there's kind of things which will want to take it back there. And a lot of our thoughts and a lot of our communication in the next couple of weeks may have to do with family, may have to do with home, may have to do with nation. It's things that we are familiar with that we want. And I'll tell you, Mercury in Cancer is not very open to new ideas unless you can prove the value of them versus what it knows is already valuable. So, like I said, very interesting how it's mixing with the squares at the critical 30th degree and then going into Cancer, because both Mercury and Venus in Cancer, they want support. They want emotional intimacy. They want to be able to talk out their feelings and listen and give and take in that situation. And so then, as they end up conjuncting one another right after that at that critical first degree of Cancer. And that's exactly what that does. It gives the ability, Mercury conjunct Venus gives the ability to articulate our feelings very well, where we can balance the intellect and emotions and really express our feelings. With Venus, a lot of times it's feelings of affection and love and care and support. And so we can give that to each other now. We can this is a time where where relationships can get into really good discussions and make a lot of headway, where we can feel safe expressing the things that we're expressing. And so very, very interesting energy there. That's where we can really, really bring that new energy into relationships and create an emotional space where we feel safe and supported for one another, and not feel like we're being deceived, not feel like our ideals are being let down or discouraged or disheartened in any way. And what's really interesting on top of that is the quincunx to Pluto, because Pluto, as I've said to you guys before, is all about transformation. So it's talking about wanting to transform relationships and communications, and wanting to purge out that stuff that we don't see that's serving us well. and what's been letting us down, what's been letting our ideals down. And now we want that closer connection. So we need to clear out some energy to allow that to get in. And once again, when we have Mercury and Venus quincunxing Pluto, it can get us into like these really complicated arrangements with other people. They're not linear. They're kind of roundabout, and they come from odd places, and we're kind of making adjustments, and Mercury with Pluto helps us to see into the mind of others, even where their motivations are coming from. And once again, it may show us some of that stuff, like the Mercury Neptune, like where what they're trying to hide from us, and that we can see that clearly now. And Venus with Pluto actually will bring in people to us that are difficult to deal with us emotionally, so that we look at our own emotional needs and start dealing with them ourselves, so that we know the type of people we don't want to be around, and we can start separating ourselves from them, letting go, releasing. That's what the quincunx is all about. It's like, let this stuff go. We have to be really careful of that, because otherwise we can get into very possessive, manipulative mind games with Mercury, Venus, quincunx, Pluto, power tripping, control games, using emotions and things like that, and hidden, ruthless, underhanded kind of manipulation to try to get people to do what we want. So we have to be really, really careful of that energy, but at the same time, it helps us to see where that is, what the depth of that stuff is, and try to move forward from it by purging that stuff out to allow new energy in. And once again, that Cancer energy, something that's more supportive. Now, the energy continues on Thursday, very similar. The Sun is square Neptune, very similar to the Mercury square Neptune and the Venus square Neptune the day before. And then the Sun goes into Cancer, and that is our solstice day. The summer solstice up here in the northern hemisphere, and the winter solstice down in the southern hemisphere. And Sun square Neptune is the same thing. There can be a lot of confusion. There can be like things where we can see our energy trying to deal with the real world, and our ideals are not mixing well, and it can be exhausting. It can tire us out. It can have us feel, disenchanted, discouraged. It can knock our confidence down. It could actually have us, do some futile acts where we're trying to make up, and it's not, it's not on the up and up completely, and it can just add to the misunderstanding, add to the confusion going on. Now, Sun Neptune can also, seek out some beautiful places, moments, nature, art, do things like that, even spirituality, and act on that. But we have to understand that we're under our own subjective idealism once again, and that we're not really connected to the real world very well. So the real world can let us down, And like I said, we can even feel this physically. We can even feel tired, exhausted by that energy. But once that goes right away, we're going to go right into the Sun, into Cancer for the next 30 days. And yeah, that is a time where we are very sensitive to others, where our emotions really come up. We're very much into our family, where our security is having a home, a safe place to come back to for ourselves and our loved ones. When Cancer energy is feeling secure, it is very giving, very loving, very supportive of its loved ones, its friends. It wants to invite them in. It wants to, take care of them. And when it's feeling like it's getting its needs met, it will widen that circle of who those friends and family are. It'll help us find who our true friends and family are actually too. But if it's feeling threatened, if you're not getting what you need, especially emotionally, but also the stability of a home and a family and stable relationships that support you and support your life, if you don't get those things, then it can really circle the wagons, and the wagons can get tighter and you start to exclude people. You're not one of us. You can see that happen in the world a lot. United States is a sun in Cancer country. And you can see how we're connected very much to our past, our heritage, traditional mom, Cancer, food, apple pie, ice cream, all those comfort things that Cancer likes, and replaces emotion with. When it's not getting emotional support, it will go out and try to just use comfort things that are around home to support that. So that's when we know we're not getting that support. And the United States can act very, very nationalistic and defensive when the Cancer energy gets really strong with it. So, this is that time of the year where we're looking for that ourselves. We're looking for that stability. And remember, we got to be careful about not trying to manipulate and dictate to our loved ones what their lives should be like, not living our life out through theirs, that we all need to have our own thing and be supporting that and giving and getting support from each other, but especially on the emotional and intimate level, even more so. If Cancer has that home to go back to, it really wants that emotional support more than anything else. So we got that energy going on. And then on Friday, Mercury is sextiling Mars. And so that really motivates us through our own ideas. We just really want to get our own ideas out there. And it's really a day where it's best to work alone if you can. We're very motivated by that, and it's hard for other people to keep up with us, but we do want to communicate what we're doing. So there's a lot of important communications. We'll take initiative. We're very assertive about that. It's really good for projects, business type stuff that you're into, those kind of things, and just making those communications and connections and letting people know what you expect and need from them, but in an assertive manner, not in something where you're getting overboard and overreacting, getting to a point where you're getting aggressive. So really good day to do work too, especially paperwork, mental work, that kind of thing. But physical work can work too, especially if you're working with hands and tools that are involved with that physical work. A really, really good flow to all that energy, really. And then we have the full moon on Friday, and it's at 2 degrees Cap. So there's 2 degrees Cap there, opposite the sun and Venus, still in a conjunction at 2 degrees Cancer. Venus is at 5, and they're separating from that T square still with Neptune. So there you go. I did a little diagram for you. So Saturn is the ruler of this full moon. And so, full moon, is an opposition, right? So the opposition is, the aspect that is most likely to bring us into some kind of conflict, because usually through our relationships, there's some kind of disagreement going on. So you want to look at 2 degrees Cancer and Capricorn in your chart, and that'll show you the houses that this is falling into. So the moon in Capricorn is actually in detriment. It is the sign that the moon is least comfortable in its natural way of expressing itself. And why is that? Because Capricorn is one of the most non-emotional signs. Capricorn actually likes to cap emotions, cap emotions, pun intended. So it wants to restrict them. It wants to control them. It sees them as a little bit messy, right? So Capricorn doesn't really want to reach out to others either. It's like, I'll take care of my own emotional stuff. Don't worry about it. So Capricorn's very practical, methodical, once again, based very much on things in the past and what it knows works. Kind of Cancer can be like that too. Like I said, with the memories thing, that's one thing that they both have in common. They're cardinal signs, and cardinal signs have a lot to do with the past, with knowing what established and got us here where we're at and worked for us. So Capricorn is very much into that energy of having a methodology, being very practical, conservative with emotions, conservative with speech. And it can see the sun in Cancer as being too emo, as allowing emotions to, distract us from moving forward. So that's where that opposition energy is coming in. And it has Venus on its side too. And what's Venus all about? Emotions too. So it's like the sun in Cancer is in an emotional state, and it's got Venus, which is one of the planets of emotions, with it, both opposing the moon, which is another emotional thing, but in a sign where it's trying to be as non-emotional as possible. So you can see where the conflict is here. The moon in Capricorn is like, show me the results, show me what's real, give me something solid and practical and useful, and something that I know will work. And the sun in Cancer is like, well, wait a minute, I need to process these emotions. I need something that's warmer than that. I need something that's more emotional and intimate and more connected to me. So that's, the issue we're having. And the same with the Venus opposite the moon can go two ways, right? It can be really overly emotional and overly sensitive. And the moon in Capricorn, it still is the moon. When it gets overly sensitive and emotional, it gets quiet, right? It shuts down. So, like the moon opposite Cat in Venus could act that way, or the other way that the moon opposite Venus acts is it wants to make connections with others. It's out there seeking to do that. So once again, it's kind of more on the side of the Cancer energy in this full moon getup. And I think that's what's really going on here, especially once again at a critical early degree. It's one this full moon is trying to allow more emotion in here, and it's coming off that square to Neptune. So it's still like, okay, I know I can be misled, I know I can be deceived, I know my ideals may not be lived up to, but it's still, with all this Cancer energy, it's seeking that emotional connection, that intimate connection. So very, very interesting. And then the ruler, Saturn, actually is not really aspecting any planets, but it's aspecting two of the asteroids. And interestingly enough, one of them is Sextile Ceres, which is the asteroid of the mothering energy, of nurturing energy, of getting what you want emotionally. In fact, Ceres probably has more to do with Cancer than any other sign. So once again, you can see that Cancer energy. And what is Saturn sextile Ceres saying? There are opportunities. If we can find that Cancer sun energy, there are opportunities to create stable, nurturing relationships for the long term right now under this full moon. If we can allow some of that energy in with that moon in Capricorn. Now, interestingly enough, Saturn is also opposite the asteroid Juno, which is the asteroid of partnerships. And it's separating from that aspect. And to me, once again, is that going back to the Venus square Neptune, to the Mercury square Neptune at the end of Pisces Gemini, where you might have seen where certain people are not really, were misleading you, and that, these are relationships that at this point are restricting you and you're trying to get away from. They're not offering you the nurturing and support that you need. So very interesting that the ruler is doing there. Like I said, look up where 2 degrees Cancer Cap is in your own chart, and you'll see where this energy is playing. This energy of trying to find the right balance emotionally to get the intimate connections that we need, and at the same time build something stable, solid, and practical with that, without getting too restricted, without falling into old patterns, by allowing some of the ideal in, allowing some of the new things in. I'm purging some of the old things out. And interestingly enough, the very Sunday, 2 days later, the sun, which is behind Mercury and Venus at this point, will also quincunx Pluto. And that is definitely a time where you feel a lot of pressure from both inside yourself and outside yourself to change, to bring in transformation to your life. So you may literally separate yourself from people and just, and that can confuse people too, because it can feel like it's inconsistent, like there's new parts of your personality coming out. And so they may try to control you emotionally again. They may try to power trip you. And this is one where it's saying quincunx, move away again, release, let go, purge that stuff out to allow something new in, because otherwise you can get in wild, crazy games of manipulation, power tripping, guilt, fear. So we want to let that stuff go and allow transformation to come in. Really, this week, if you can see what the whole theme of this week is, it's the Cancer energy coming in and and pushing out the Gemini, pushing out the Pisces, saying let's raise this stuff to another level and not be in this place where there's all these misunderstandings and deceptions going on and mind games and emotional games in your relationships. What we want is we want honest emotional support and being able to give and receive that with one another. And that is what we want to build our stable emotional relationships off of for the future. And so, very interesting week where it's really showing us places where we've had a lot of misunderstandings based on our own ideals and allow maybe the world and other people to deceive us through that. But now being able to see that clearly and then having the ability to start to purge some of that energy out so that we can reach to that Cancer energy and get the emotional support, the intimate support, the feeling of home and family that we really need. So that's what I've got for us this week, you guys. Next week, the biggest event next week is the last week of the month. I'll be looking at I'll be going over the Saturn retrograde again. So Saturn will be the second planet that'll be going retrograde. Pluto's been retrograde for a while now, so that'll be the second one that goes retrograde, and then we'll start to see some of the other ones start to go retrograde over the next couple months, the long-term ones. So talk about that. Okay, so this is Matt Lawton. This is the Astrological Winds channel. It is a free video blog. It's on YouTube every week. I'd really like you to become a follower, and you need to turn your notifications on. I really would like you to pass the link on right now to somebody else. Remember, it's available on podcasts. If you'd rather not watch the video, just go and check out Astrological Winds channel on any of your favorite podcasts. You should be able to find it pretty quickly. Buzzsprout puts it out there. Like I said, it's having thousands of hits over the last few months, so it's out there. It's also available on Instagram, Astrological Winds channel. Sometimes I put some extra info on that during the week, so that's worth being friended on. If you have an Instagram account, friend me on that, the Astrological Winds channel. And it's always available on my website. Please check the website out, www.astrologicalwinds, no channel, just astrologicalwinds.com. And that's got my menu where if you're looking for a professional reading, I've been doing them for over 20 years. I was professionally trained for 7 years, passed all kinds of tests and stuff. I would love to do it for you. Have tons of customers that you can reference, have great references. Doing professional stuff. If anybody's looking for weekly, daily, or monthly readings, I'm doing that for people too. Help with your business, whatever it may be. Also, if you have a group that's looking for a lecture, a class, something like that, there's information on the website for that too. And remember, the raffle is going on. Every $5 you donate to the blog right now, you'll get a chance to win either a birth chart reading, a natal chart reading that is, or a predictive reading for the next year. It's a $222.22 value that you can get for $5, or if you want to take 4 chances, 20. My Venmo is at Matthew with 2 T's hyphen Lawton, Lauten. And my Cash App is the $ Matthew Lutton, all one word with 2 T's and Lauten. Don't forget to put capitals at M and L. And we get enough people to do this, and I'll, let you know when the drawing day is going to be. I want to let it build up a little bit first. So thanks so much. Please pass the blog along. That's what we got for this week, and I'll see you all next week.